Today, on the Attorney Career Advice podcast with Harrison Barnes.
And a law firm will only make someone an equity partner if they're providing like a ton of value. And I think that's one of the main things to understand compared to the non-equity partners is they have.
Welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing today, Harrison?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. I'm excited to talk about this topic because this is one of the more popular topics that is covered on BCG Attorney Search, which is what specific law firm titles mean. So those titles specifically include of counsel, non-equity partner, and equity partner. And we're going to explain each of those in detail and kind of dive into how they're perceived and the different types of attorneys that end up with these titles later on in their career. So is there anything that you want to just say to lay the groundwork about titles in law firms? Any kind of general advice that you want to give?
I think one of the main things is that the titles that people have in law firms typically they're meaningful to the extent of the brand of the law firm many times. So the being of counsel may not seem like a great title at a lot of firms, but depending on the firm, it actually can be a very good title, depending on the prestige of the firm. And the same thing with being a partner sounds like a very reputable role. But at the same time, it may not mean as much if you're at different types of firms. So these are just things that people need to consider when they're looking at different firms and when they're thinking about the title, because it doesn't always mean it's not always not prestigious not to be a partner, but at the same time, it's not always prestigious to be a partner.
Yeah, and that's something that kind of stuck out to me when I was first learning about this topic, how just because you have a certain title doesn't mean it carries the same weight everywhere that you go. And specifically for the of counsel title, what exactly is of counsel? It's a term that I was not familiar with before I started learning about the legal industry.
Of counsel it's a couple different things. Some extremely prestigious firms, which would be places like, it doesn't really matter, but many firms will make people of counsel before they ever make them a partner. That's something that happens in many of the very best firms. So if you took the top 100 firms in the country, and then maybe in terms of prestige levels, then being an of counsel at one of those top 20 firms might be something that happens before you even become an equity partner, because many times they won't even have equity partners. But of counsel typically will mean a lot of things. It's typically someone that doesn't necessarily have the ability to be a partner because they may do very good work, but they don't have the people skills or the drive to bill a lot of hours or the sense of urgency to really generate a lot of business or to build client. And there's something missing generally. And sometimes people will get that title because they have a potential of becoming a partner later on if they decide they want to work harder, become better, more engaged. Other times they may get that title just because they're older and they don't have the same drive as someone that's younger, or they're the same need to prove themselves. So it's really a title that's reserved if you're, one way I would look at it is if you lack the energy or the ambition to really take on the world, and it means different things to different firms. You may be very driven at certain firms. People may be very driven, but get that title at certain firms just because they didn't rise through the ranks, and they never can become partner pretty much, unless they get a lot of business. But it's typically connotes that you don't really have the energy or the drive or the enthusiasm of someone that's going to be a partner.
And
the
that
skills.
Makes sense. Right, absolutely. And that makes sense also in the context of later in life, maybe a lot of attorneys don't want to practice as hard because, like you say, they lose energy, or maybe they want to focus more on their family or a political career, something like that. And is it true that in certain cases, law firms might give somebody an of counsel title to keep their association with the law firm without really having them do like the day-to-day?
Yeah, sometimes there's people that have very good backgrounds they may have been politicians or very well known in business, and they may be people that are very well known in the legal community, but they don't have the desire to be fully engaged with a firm. And so they'll give them that title. And it's very useful for a lot of firms. They can give people that title. Where I used to work at a New York law firm, and they had like the former Attorney General of California. His name was John Vandekamp. I don't think he's alive anymore. He was of counsel, and they just brought him in and paid him, but he didn't have a ton of work, but his presence at the firm helped the firm to attract clients and gave it prestige. And so law firms will do that. They'll bring in certain people or bring back attorneys that may have practiced there before because the their presence elevates the brand.
And that's a good point. So it really is, a contextual title, if you will. It depends on your background. It depends on the firm's kind of association with you, their future plans for you, if any. And something I was wondering, if you have a title like of counsel and you want to move to another law firm, does that title tend to make it easier for you to move, more difficult for you to move? Like, how does that play into it?
Yeah, it does make it more difficult. And it connotes that you don't have as much business as is a lot of other firms. That is a lot of other attorneys. But at the same time, it's not necessarily, it depends on the firm. Again, some firms may make someone of counsel, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing and very hard to make of counsel. Other firms will hand out the title or almost as a like very easily.
So that's definitely understandable. And something else I was wondering when it comes to lateral moves is, does the title ever go away, or do people with an of counsel title ever move up into a partner position when they're moving to a new law firm, or how does that work?
Yeah, people from of counsel move up to partner all the time. It's just a lot of times they'll give them that title just that they want to test their level of engagement. Many times people will have left the practice of law and or come back, or they may be moving firms quite a bit. And the law firms don't want to hand out the title of partner without testing the person. A lot of times counsel will be hourly, so they'll give them the position to almost to do as an hourly basis while they're waiting for while so they'll give them a percentage, for example, their collections just for an association with the firm. So if the person bills out at $500 an hour, look, that's just a hypothetical. They may give the firm half the money or even more or less. It depends in exchange for being able to use that title.
So in a situation like that, what's the benefit to the of counsel attorney versus just branching out on their own and say charging $400 or $500 an hour for the?
Well, an attorney that, it could be 1,000 or 2,000, it depends on the attorney, but the attorney that having a brand associated with the law firm for the of counsel attorney is helpful. If the attorney's with a firm, the presence of the firm gives them more cachet. They also get the benefit. People helping, they get the benefit of getting to use firm secretaries, office space, research. Sometimes the of counsel, of course, can use associates and they can get work from other people that are in the firm. They can get access to clients and things that they normally wouldn't have. So there's actually a lot of benefits of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
like it is a very favorable arrangement for the of counsel attorney. Do you want to take back control of your legal career? We have a solution for you. Harrison Barnes, the #1 legal recruiter with over 20 years of experience, hosts weekly webinars followed by live Q&A sessions every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. These webinars are packed with helpful information that you can use to advance your legal career. Best of all, after each webinar, Harrison stays for as long as needed in order to answer every question. Webinars take place on Zoom, and you can join the next webinar by using the Zoom ID. The Zoom ID for this webinar is 868-9816-5944. Again, that Zoom ID is 868-9816-5944. You can also find more information by going to coaching.oar.com.
Yeah, but of counsel, and many times I know people that have left the practice of law and then want to come back. And many times law firms will bring them back just as of counsel and they'll say, okay, we'll let you use the title with us, but at the same time, you have to
find your own work, essentially.
You have to find
bring
your
in
own work.
clients.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
if you
makes
do,
sense.
we can talk about something more significant. So they know that the person can do the work, but at the same time, they don't believe in them enough to make them a partner.
Yeah, so that definitely makes a lot of sense. And I think that's a good summary of what an of counsel attorney is and how they're viewed by different law firms. And before we move on to non-equity partners, have you seen any specific trends in, do higher prestige levels look more or less favorably than lower prestige firms on of counsel attorneys?
I mean, the title like of counsel is going to mean something much different at a major law firm than it means at a smaller law firm. At a major law firm, you still have to be really on your toes to even be of counsel at a lot of major law firms. And the title, it's basically what the law firm is saying is it's saying we think this attorney is okay, but this isn't our best product, if that makes sense. Or
Sure.
this isn't the very best product that we offer. There's good things about this, but there may be something wrong. So it could be just that the person doesn't have the interpersonal skills. It could be that they have personal demons. It could be that there's a certain lack of commitment. It just many times it's just that they don't have business. It could be, that the law firm doesn't have enough work for this type of attorney, or they only need the person for certain types of things. It could be sometimes what law firms will do is they'll put attorneys that they want to put on committees or help manage the firm. They'll make them of counsel instead of having them serve as clients. So they'll basically say, this is one of our attorneys, but the person's not really practicing law. They may be doing HR, they may be doing helping with business development, they may be doing all sorts of related things. So that's interesting in terms of how that works. Many times you'll look inside of law firms and the people that are of counsel are really more support roles, but they call them of counsel and they're not really billing work to clients. I see that. And then many times people just have other ambitions. Like they may want to try their hand at running political campaigns or something. And while they're doing that, the law firm, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's definitely understandable. There's a wide range of reasons that an attorney might be considered of counsel, and it's not always a bad thing. It's not necessarily that you shouldn't be a partner or that you can't be a partner, but it's that maybe you're not there yet or that you just have other aspirations. So it's a vote of confidence, but it's not saying this is our aim. So how does that differ from a non-equity partner, somebody who's given a partner title but is not taking in a percentage of the earnings from?
Non-equity partner is different in the sense that person's actually holding themselves out as a partner. So many times law firms they'll call them income partners, or they'll call them non-equity partners, and then they call people that are real partners, capital partners. Non-equity partners basically used because there's a lot of very motivated people that have the potential to be partners that aren't necessarily partner material. I mean, they don't have the business, or the law firm just doesn't want to share its profits with them, and it feels like it can do better just paying them a certain amount of money.
So, does it mean that somebody who's a non-equity partner has the potential to move up to full partner status? And if so, what would it take for them to cross that threshold?
Sure. So what happens is law firms will basically tell people, if you work really hard, you can be a partner. You just keep your head down and work hard. So it's interesting, and it's a good business way of doing things, because the law firm will allow people to potentially have the potential to be a partner, but at the same time, it will not make them a partner until it'll basically junior associates and so forth. And as they move up the chain, we'll see people make partner, but they'll see them make income partner, and then they'll work very hard for the right to do that. So the associates are more profitable because they have the potential to be partners. But then once they become a partner, they can do two things with them. So certain firms will do things like a Kirkland & Ellis is a perfect example. Like they make a ton of money off their non-equity partners, and they actually have a lot of work for them. So they can put them on different things. And so the non-equity partner, they may be happy keeping them a non-equity partner for a long time. Other firms, for a non-equity partner, may decide that after a couple years, if the person doesn't generate business, they'll let them go, or they'll try to push them in-house or something. So it depends on the firm, and there's different rules for every firm. They make you a non-equity partner, or they'll ask
So,
you to leave if you're not generating business.
and when it comes to generating business, that was actually the thing I wanted to approach next. Is it the associates who are already generating business? Are they then given this title as like a reward, or is it more like
Um,
somebody who's just worked hard is given the non-equity partner title and then they're expected to go generate business?
They'd be given that and then told they have a couple years to generate business.
Okay. So what happens to the non-equity partners who don't make it or aren't able to generate business?
It's not good. So they're depending on how well the firm's doing. So it depends on the firm and the economics. So if a firm like Kirkland and Ellis, for example, has a lot of work, they have giant clients, and those General Motors and all these people, and so those giant clients are always feeding them lots of work. So they may be able to afford to give the non-equity partners a lot of work, and pay a non-equity partner even $1 million a year or more, and that non-equity partner can happily do all the work that they want. In contrast, a most firms do not have enough work partner level people. And so if a non-equity partner can't use that title to go out and generate work, then they're going to be in trouble. So the law firm may ask them to leave. It may say you need to start showing a lot of business by this year, or next year or something. It'll give them. And if they don't do that, then that person generally has to start looking for money or for a new.
So that's definitely understandable. And do they tend to find success in finding another partner title? Do they end up taking like a step down in salary if they do find another job, or what is their fate after that?
Do you know the secrets to getting your dream legal job? We do. And one of the best things you can do is apply to jobs that fly under the radar. Applying to openings with very little competition means you stand a much higher chance of getting hired. But how do you find openings like that? For starters, you're not going to find them on major job boards, because these jobs are usually only advertised on companies' websites and in small regional publications. That is why we created Law Crossing, the most comprehensive database of legal jobs in the world. We have a team of people constantly working to find every single legal job out there. Unlike other job boards, which only list jobs that companies pay to post, we include every legal job we can find in order to maximize your chances of finding a job. So, what are you waiting for? Head over to www.lawcrossing.com to find your dream legal job today.
So most of the time they may try to go in-house. They'll network with people and see if they know anybody that's starting up a firm or has work. Many times they'll go to another firm and basically be very honest that they don't have any business or how much they have, which can work. Other times they'll basically exaggerate the amount of business that they have and then go out and interview with firms and then go to a firm and basically say, oh, I don't have all the business I thought I had. Or the business didn't materialize, and then that law firm will allow them to stick around for a year or two, then they'll do the same thing. So there's a lot of people that have been moving around for years in the legal profession, telling each firm that they have business when they don't because they're unable to generate business as non-equity partners. That doesn't happen frequently. It does happen frequently, but it doesn't happen more than the opposite, which is the person is honest with their business and so forth, or does generate business.
And does it ever happen where somebody who has a full partner status or title, do they ever get voted down to a non-equity?
Yeah, people get voted down to non-equity all the time. And that tends to be the way that people lose their jobs in big law firms. So the first thing the law firm will do, if they're an equity partner and they're not bringing in the business or holding their own, so law firm will talk to them maybe one year or the next year and say, if you don't start generating business, we're going to demote you to a non-equity partner or let you go or make you of counsel. And then the person is given a little bit of time to, certain goals to bring in business. And then if they don't, then they may be what's called de-equitized and then told you have a year to generate more business and that sort of thing. And then if they don't, they need to find another position.
Would a large law firm typically have more equity partners or non-equity partners?
A large law firm would typically have more non-equity partners.
And yeah, that makes a lot of sense because the profit pool, they don't necessarily want to divide it more than they have to, but they put people in this holding pattern where it's like, you can either rise and help us generate more business, so we're all making more money, and then you're earning your spot as a rightful partner, or you're out and you need to find.
Yeah, it depends on the firm, and different firms do different things. And one of the reasons for not having a lot of, can you hold on 1 second? Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. All right. Sorry, go ahead. So it makes sense.
I lost train of thought. Let me just backtrack a little bit. So we were saying there's more not in equity because they need to either shape up or ship out. We covered that. I think we were just transitioning into the next point.
I think the big thing, I'm sorry, I know you have to go back and edit this, but I know the big thing with the non-equity partners many times is it really depends on the firm. And one of the things that's important about the non-equity versus the equity is many firms that the partnership, the equity partners, they make a percentage of the salary. So, or this percentage of the earnings of the firm. So they typically do not want to share as much of that. So they're always looking to not make people an equity partner. And they'll only make someone an equity partner if the person's really generating a lot of money for the firm. And that's one of the main things. So if the person's generating a ton of money for the firm, then the law firm, of course, in terms of bringing in business and so forth, wants them to be an equity partner because it's a better deal for the firm to keep them around than not to be an equity partner. And so equity partners really, it's about the business and how much value the person's providing. And a law firm will only make someone an equity partner if they're providing like a ton of value. And I think that's one of the main things to understand compared to the non-equity partners is they have to provide a ton of value, and the value has to be so much in favor of the firm that most of the time that when someone's an equity partner, like the law firm would be insane not to make them an equity partner or keep them an equity partner.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. And when it comes to what you just mentioned, like that's generally true across the board, right? That the partners who are equity partners have earned their rightful place there and they're generating money for the law firm.
Yeah.
But
So,
is it also true that the expectations on partners might differ based on the size and prestige of their law firm?
yeah. So the expectations are definitely different. A smaller law firm is going to have different expectations than the largest and the most profitable law firms because they're just different.
And what kind of characteristics do these partners tend to have in common? What makes an attorney like driven or motivated to become a partner?
I think that it's almost natural. So it's people have something inside of them that just drives them to be very good attorneys or to work very hard and to try to bring in clients and to play by all these rules. And so what's necessary. So if they do all those things, that it's internal. So most people that be equity partners in major law firms, they're just very driven. Their careers drive them. The most important thing in the world to them is their careers. It's just a certain type of person.
Yeah, they basically just live and breathe their legal career, and everything that they do revolves around that eventual goal of making partner. And I guess if you were to
Well, and
say
staying part
something,
and
oh, that's a very good point because you could always be voted down. It's not like you can rest on your laurels once you get there. So, if you had any advice to give to younger attorneys who might be listening to this and have aspirations of one day making partner, what are certain things that they can do to almost guarantee that they'll be made partner at
Do you want to grow your legal career? A lateral move might be the right choice to get you on track for your career goals. Working with a legal placement firm like BCG Attorney Search can open doors for you and help you live the life you dream of. If you're looking for a new legal job, send us your resume so we can help. Visit www.bcgsearch.com and click on Submit Resume to be paired with one of our legal placement professionals who will work tirelessly on your behalf to get you your dream legal job. Submit your resume to www.bcgsearch.com to get started today.
the biggest thing that about being an equity partner is I can give you one of the examples that I can give you is and this is from a long time ago, but it's interesting I think, but it applies to attorneys as well. As I was considering going to business school one time when I was about 15 years ago, and I had really good grades in college, and then I took the GMATs, and by some stroke of genius, and I got an unbelievable score. I mean, I couldn't even believe it. And then at the time, I had this business that was growing very rapidly. And if you looked at me on paper, I was much better than any business school student that is some of the schools I applied to. And of course, I got in. But the point is that when you look at that time, I believed, and I probably should have gone to business school, but I had more going for me than the school I thought could offer me, if that makes sense. And it didn't end up going. Now, that's not to say that I'm very special or anything. It's just that why would I give up working in this business that was growing by, 50% a year and all these great things were happening? Why would and then why would I do that to go to business school? But the point about an attorney that becomes an equity partner is most of the time, by the time they're equity partners, it's like they're offering far more value to the firm than the firm is giving them. So they have more business, they have more drive, they have more contact. There's so much going for them that the law firm, it's not like the law firm's doing them a favor, making them a partner. It's they're doing them a favor working there. And you have to be that good to be a partner in most major law firms, because you may be going to a firm and you may bring in like $10 million in business, and the law firm may pay you $1.5 million or $2 million. That means they're making millions and millions of dollars off you. If someone can make millions of dollars off you, then you're actually providing them a lot of value. And you may be providing them much more value than else in the firm, especially if you're a young partner, because they can pay you less. And so that's the thing, is if you want to be a partner in a major law firm, like, you have to provide so much value that it's not like they're doing you any favors. Like, you have to keep your fingers crossed, and you're going to be a partner there, and you know how good you are. And so that was like, and my example was like, when I was applying to colleges, I went to a good college, but it was always like, I really hope like I get into this college. I really hope I get into that college. People get into school, like, you always hear about people like Bill Gates dropping out of Stanford, or where did he drop out of? Or these types of schools. Well, these people drop out because they have so much going for them that there's no freaking way that the school can possibly give them as much value as they can get on, they're offering the school more value. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I
To be
think
that good. Yeah.
exactly, for a younger attorney to adopt that mentality and look for ways to provide so much value that you're doing the law firm a favor by working there,
Yeah.
carrying that with you is going to actually help you act that way in your day-to-day dealings with the firm, and you will rise quickly because you're magnetizing yourself and attracting opportunities to show what you're worth and work on better and more prestigious projects and really work your way up that ladder.
Yeah, and I'm from like Detroit, and for some reason I got interested last night in reading about Henry the Ford II that led Ford between I don't know, when was it, the 1960s to 1985 or something like that. But he famously fired Lee Iacocca. Lee Iacocca is probably the best thing that ever happened to Ford when
Right.
he was there because he developed the Mustang and he did all these things, and then he went and took control of Chrysler that was bankrupt
Mm.
and turned it into this great company. So the point is that firing Lee Iacocca, I mean, Lee Iacocca probably didn't care. I mean, he could go in. He was the most talented guy at Ford. So where does he go? He goes to be CEO. So if you're really good, like you don't the law, you don't need the law firm to do anything. The best attorneys, by the way, many times the law firm's worried. The best partners, they're always worried about them quitting and going elsewhere because they're providing so much value. You have to that you have to learn it's not just about the hours, it's about the business, it's about the contacts and just the presence you bring and the enthusiasm and the energy and the all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of intangibles. Like you say, it's not just the work that you do, but it's the energy that you.
Right.
And once you finally do make it to that level of equity partner, are there any additional rights or responsibilities that come along with?
Yeah, a partner, when you're an equity partner, I mean, you can be in charge of lots of things. You're technically responsible for the firm's debts, and you're responsible for hiring people and making decisions. You're voting on things, keeping the business running, hiring, salaries, all sorts of decisions. And it depends on the firm who gets that role, but you can be responsible for a lot of different things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I was wondering is how many equity partners can a law firm typically support? I know a large law firm is going to support more than a smaller one, but as a percentage of the total employees, like how many partners can a typical law firm have?
Well, a law firm can support a lot of equity partners. It can have as many as it could have hundreds of them. It just depends. If the partner by definition is almost always someone that has a good book of business but not always. And that's a good point. And there's a lot of firms where if you do very well, you can become an equity partner without any business. And the law firm may not even pressure you that much to bring in business because they have giant institutional clients. So it's really dependent on the firm, but it doesn't really matter. It can be there's just all sorts of you just have to think about the firm and not think about, but look at the firm and the firm will have equity partners depending on its ability to support them and kind of the arrangements that it makes internally.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily dilute the image of the firm or anything like that to have
Right.
100 or 1,000 partners.
Right.
It's really about the fact that the partners are providing more value to the firm, so it would not make sense to not make them. Excellent, excellent. That about wraps it up. Is there anything that you want to say to conclude our podcast today?
No, I think that's about it.
Excellent. Well, I think we covered some really interesting points that a lot of attorneys may not have thought of before when it comes to their position in a law firm. And hopefully, we've given some helpful advice to those who do want to make partner one day.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.